Thank you for staying with us. There's a time to be born and a time to die, but an impactful life is worth recognizing. Today, we will be focusing on the late former General Secretary of the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Frank Kokori, who died on his 80th birthday after battling a kidney-related ailment. He was one of the arrowheads of the June the 12th struggle and the enthronement of democracy and rule of law in Nigeria. He was a labor leader, chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, and an elder statesman. President Bola Tinubu, in his condolence message, described Mr. Kokori as a thoroughbred Democrat and activist. He fought for democracy at a great personal cost. He surrendered his liberty to fight for truth and justice. He was the finest among reformers and champions of civil rights in Nigeria, end quote. He said, now joining us in the studio to discuss this patriot is essayist Sam Omashe. Good morning. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
And also joining us in the studio is fellow Chartered Institute of Local Government and Public Administration activist as well, Razak Ulukoba. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
It's good to have you join us. Now, several messages have been pouring in for the late icon, if I may call him that, Frank Kokori. But two stood out for me, yours and that of Festus Adedayo. Festus said, and I quote, "I am sure Frank Ovie Kokori died a sad man last week." And then you went ahead to say that Kokori was betrayed in death as he was in life, twice betrayed. That was what you titled it. But then there was a line that stood out from your article that not many young people know Frank Kokori and not many old acknowledge him. So let's begin from there. Knowing him, yes.
Yeah, interestingly, when Kokori was on his deathbed,
Right.
he was weeping, as it were, the situation of his life. And he was saying, I'm a hero, and things like that. And you discover that there was silence from every quarter in the country.
Really?
There was real silence, except that the governor of Delta State went to his hospital and sat beside him.
Before he died?
Before he died. And he said, this man has been ignored. This man is our hero. It's not about PDP or APC, he's a PDP governor. It's about a Nigerian hero. And he said he was going to, on behalf of the government, pick his bills and do all of that and take care of him and whatever it mattered to help him. Other than maybe Otedola, there was nobody who came to his rescue.
Why was that?
That is why I say, not even the old did not acknowledge him. Even the young don't know about him. I can understand the young, some of them, they don't read history. They don't even know the country they are living in because they don't have the curiosity. They don't have the thirst to know where they're coming from. So he is sandwiched in a penumbra of neglect where the old don't care, the young don't know. So you have him in that place sandwiched. That's what I mean by that the old don't acknowledge him, the young don't know him. Because when you tell the young people what happened during June 12, many of them don't know. I remember when I was in a bank and I saw some young people before the COVID shut down. I said, this thing reminds me of June 12, when banks were not operating, everywhere was shut down, and they were all looking at me like this. And this is how graduates from the university. What did they teach them in the school? What did they learn? When I was in Ife, I knew everything about Nigerian history. Although I studied history, I knew things about Russian history I didn't study. I knew things about medieval Europe. I knew things about the history of Kenya, history of all those Mao Mao and all of that. We studied them because we had curiosity. Our people have no curiosity. They just spend time on social media. They are talking shallow senses about things that they don't understand. So a man like Kokori held the military in the jugular.
Right.
A tiny, gaunt, frail-looking man. He held the country on his jugular. There's one language I would like to use, but the television cannot. You can imagine it. Yes, he held the country in his jugular. The military, Babacha, even before him, Babangida. Where is this small man? Because when you hold the oil industry down, you hold the country down. Everybody was seeing him as this is such a man. He's an honorable man. In Yoruba they call it, it's an oshari. It means that this is a man. You know, that kind of thing. That was what he was. Small as he was determined. He was not supposed to be bought over. There are so many things we'll talk about.
We'll talk about it, yes. Let me bring you in now, Razak. You were also part of that struggle. And you must have had some contact with Frank Kokori. Talk to us about your fondest memories during those times of the struggle.
We were far younger than this. Talking about 30.
Of course.
If you minus 30 years from my age, I was probably a very young man that time. And the name of Kokori were one of the very few names that inspire us to keep the struggle going. Because you get to a time in the struggle when you begin to reflect that, am I on the right path? Particularly when you are in a solitary confinement, when you are alone. When you come from a place where this kind of thing you do is not a vogue. It's not a vogue to be a radical. So families are not in your support. So, but the names I heard of Tinubu for the first time when I was in detention. I don't know Tinubu. I heard of his name for the first time when we were detained. So, and when the struggle was going on, the names of Kokori, looking at his profile, gives you the kind of inspiration a young man needs in his life, that this is the way I want to live my life. And if not for people like Kokori, at that time, there was nobody to look up to that time. Few people like him, Tinubu, Dan Suleiman, and the likes of Nahoro, and the likes of people like Shoyinka, Bekora, some Kuti, Femi Falana. Femi had a very long jemu that time, that long beard that time. That when he's talking shooters like this, you look at him with admiration. That beard is gone now. So what I'm saying in essence is that it sent a clear signal to everybody in the world today. He may die a pauper. He may die not. But we documented all the things they had done. Because for us, at his own time, he lived a very good life. And he weaponized his own union to make the struggle successful. Right. In fact, 1994 was about the most turbulent fight against the military. It was when the military actually felt that, of course, there are forces that are combating him. He was arrested maybe, I think, August or July 18 or so. And he was kept in solitary confinement as well. So when he was eventually arrested, for us too, we were also arrested, and many of my young people were also arrested. That, okay, we are not in this alone. Some other people were with us. But the calamity that you brought out of the whole of this picture is very important to also expatiate on it more. That we live in a country where we don't use good people like this to mentor young people. When the Nehru also died also, many people don't know that was the man that moved the motion for Nigerian independence. And let me also shock you. Tafawa Balewa, Ahmadu Bello, the northern political class today, the legacy of Ahmadu Bello, is that what they are living in? When we launch Awolowo's, we told the Awolowo followers, when we launched Awolowo's one program for him, we told his followers, we told the billionaires that came out of Awolowo's free education. The first launch we did about this Awolowo, the first major thing was 2 million naira about 15 years ago or 20 years ago. I cannot remember. So it's a pattern. That thing that my brother here brought out is a pattern. And there's no how the young people will ever appreciate people like Tinubu. They won't appreciate him. So the old people must make that conscious effort to let them see. When the people see us running after president coming on board now. They thought it was his manifesto. They thought it was because he became the governor of Lagos. No, that has nothing to do with it.
It was a struggle.
Because of his participation. All of them, like Kokori, committed a class suicide. I read an article that says that he committed a class suicide. In the comfort of their home, Abacha will have bought them over, but they refused to be bought over. And none of them saw the future that today one of us will eventually become the president. So I am happy that we mentioned issue, and I hope people will pick it up from this discussion that, of course, it deserved a better memory. Of course, Thomas Paine, when he died, people were looking for his body, and it was a Zoom in Britain that, let's give him a befitting burial. The man that also said that the Jewish people should move to where they are today, it was almost stoned. But today, I think they will appreciate him. So for Kokori too, it should be a lesson to us today that as long as we treat our heroes like this, the young people will not appreciate you. When people don't even know you, I see your engagement with young people, and I wonder, do you know this man? Not only you, other people, when they engage them, say, do you know that? We don't know him, we don't want to know him. See, the young people, message to them now, you will lead, but you will not lead well if you are not ready for mentorship. You will follow, but you won't follow well if you don't mentor, if you don't appreciate mentorship. So for Kokori
now is a failure of mentorship.
It's a failure of mentorship. It's a failure of a conscious effort. All society that read about Lenny, Karl Marx, Lincoln, and the rest of people, society made conscious effort. And that conscious effort can't be him writing about himself. Can't be Kokori, can't be Tinubu writing about himself. It's the society itself, starting from parenting. Then our curriculum in the school, something must be done about it. I used to think that was about that removed history from our curriculum. I didn't want to forgive for that until recently that I learned that teachers don't want to teach history again because students were not willing to pick it up. You have an opportunity of choosing between government
and history.
So students begin to choose government. So people don't want to go and read history again in school. So that's how it's beginning to fade out. But society must put up a model where history teachers will be treated specially so that people, just like agriculture too, you can't ask me to go and farm or ask my children to go and farm for you to eat when it is cutlass and all you want to give him. You don't want him to wear tie and feel like other graduates. So our society must learn a lesson from Kokori that this is not for only Kokori, it's for all of us. Our society is a society who don't appreciate people, fratting from. Some people don't even know it's about Macaulay, all these young men. Someone thought Abela was a basketballer, all these young men. So, but they should not be forgiven, like we have said.
Right.
Nobody mentored you to read about all those histories. Nobody said I should go and be rusticated when I was rusticated on anti-sharp prior. I saw someone in the podium saying that you had no future on SAP. And I was curious. Just fresh in the university, in the Polytechnic in 1989, he said, I don't have future, okay. But I'm in school. He said, yes, you don't have future if SAP is allowed to go. I said, what do you mean by that? So he explained to me, and that was my incursion into radicalism. Today, if you tell young men, people like this, that give bros, what is the need for us? They don't see the umbilical cord that links what he's saying now to their future. So if you have a future and you read and you end up giving 200,000 naira after passing physics A1, passing everything A1, compared to showing off your body on television and getting 10 million naira, it's your fault. It's the kind of job you have built for yourself. So it's a big concern that deserves to be addressed.
Absolutely. It deserves to be.
You know, in those days when we were in school, unlike today when they want to show off the whole cell phones.
It was book before.
In our own time,
books.
It is a book. It's a book you are reading.
Yes.
Right.
And you want to show it, to show it off. Even so that even the girls can know that this guy
is a reader.
He has something going on in his head. It's hot. But it's not your phone. Even when your head is scratching you, use it to scratch so that people can see that.
All right, let's go back to the issue of this Frank Kokori and the many travails he went through while he was alive in the struggles leading up to getting a democracy. You mentioned some things, how he was smoked out and all of that. I want you to touch on some of this issue as a way of educating people watching.
Yes, after Chief Enahoro was arrested, because Chief Enahoro was seen as the rallying point in the country. There were others who had left, like the president now. Yeah. Those were called in Agdeco abroad. Yeah. So Enahoro was arrested here. And everybody said, look, it is Kokori now. That is the rallying point now. If the elder has been held, the only person out now that we can rally around is Kokori. So Kokori was in a hiding in somewhere in Lagos, in one hotel. He put it in his own book, one hotel here in Lagos. And it was very cozy. He was there with his wife. So the wife secretly choreographed a way of going to the market and coming in, to go and buy stuff, to make sure that if you go through this door, you won't come back through the... So they found out the way it was working for them. So he got a phone call from somebody saying that he wanted to pass some important material to him because he had become the rallying point after the arrest of Jefenahoro. And because he trusted the person, according to his own biography, he said, okay, I won't tell you where I am, but I'll tell you where you will meet me. So he decided to go to the at a specified time. He got there and he started calling. The person said, I'm coming. So while he was waiting, some men with biceps and triceps and forceps, grabbed him near a white Mercedes-Benz. And as small as he was, so they couldn't get him inside the car. He's a tiny sumo wrestler. So they wanted to get him to the car, they couldn't. They pushed away, was resisting all of them. So they said, okay, they will toss him inside the boot. If the car is, the entry is very low, and if the boot is open, we can tow. They couldn't. So what they did was to spray him. So they immobilized him by that and put him inside the car. When they put him inside the car, they were still beating him. Then somebody was speaking one fake Yoruba language to him. It was as if to say, okay, I know you and so on, we are brothers. Then he looked at him with the bad eye, as they say. And then they were trying to really beat him to pop. And he said, look, if you guys kill me here, this country will be set ablaze. That's where they softened. They knew that they will have to report to somebody. If this, they immediately understood the significance of this man, the monumental presence they had in that small, tiny dynamo in their presence. So then they softened. So the person who called him on phone, he identified as one Fred Eno. It's interesting to make this point because the information went round while he was in detention that it was Chief Segun Oshoba who betrayed him. And that information got currency until until Kokori came out and said no. It was one Fred Eno that called me, who was an aide to MKO Abiola. It was one that called me, and I trusted him because it was one of us.
Right.
As the Yoruba say, he said, if you want to look at leaf, wait till they chop the leaf. Say the kokoro way they inside. Now they chop am. So that was how he was able to free the name of Segun Oshoba. So as I said in my article, he said, we should pray that our liberation, our grace should not be in the grave. If it's in the grave, you spend the rest of your life. How many people have been innocent?
Yes.
The same Fredeno came out and said, no, it's not me that called him. But you cannot say that Kokori did not know his voice. Somebody was, and this is not the age of AI, where anybody, I can turn my voice to that of Veronica.
Of course.
I call somebody and say, come and give me 10,000 naira. Then the person wake up in the morning and says, Veronica, how did you say you wanted? I said, no, I never said it. They say, I heard your voice, I know your voice. That was not that era. This era, you can lie like that. But that era, there was no AI. Your voice is your voice. So that's what happened. That was an act of betrayal that happened. That's how they arrested him and took him. So that's why I said that was his first betrayal. Because it is the second betrayal is that he was dying and nobody came. In fact, the interesting thing is that I thought that when he died, there would be high-powered people, you know, coming out with tributes and tributes.
We saw one from Atiku, we saw from the president.
The president came in, Atiku came in later, much later. NLC waited over 24 hours. Nupeng, they all waited long before they did. The betrayal also was that the man came from oil industry. What did Nupeng do for him? Pengasa, what did they do for him? What did they do to help him? People of less, no human being is more important than the other, but people of less political significance. Anything they have, any stinger, mosquito bite me for here. Where is the plane to Honolulu? Where is the plane to Boston? Where is the plane to Tel Aviv? This mosquito bite must not move. I don't want to see any dot in my skin. Now, the hero who held the fort here in Nigeria, who was in the eye of the storm here in Nigeria, who held everything together, is just disappearing like nobody. That is why the governor of Delta State just went there and said, this man, we have to do something for him. He was already in the last stages of his life anyway. He was already there. But at least we should have shown where are all the Nadeko chieftains.
Maybe they're also battling with their own challenges with life. And that is why.
It's not when you battle with your challenge in life, you should remember there's no challenge so much that even if you cannot help it, that you cannot rally. Look at what the senators did to
the bombing.
To the bombing in
victims in
Kaduna.
Yeah.
If you had been,
no people could do that. If all of them rallied 500,000 naira each together to say to want to, they will get almost 500 million for Kokori, and it will change his life. There's no excuse at all. There is no excuse that nobody came to his rescue. Even up till now, who has visited his family?
We'll come back to this conversation after this break.
Okay.
Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were talking about Frank Ovie Kokori, who died on his 80th birthday, a hero. And we still have our guest essayist, Sam Omashe, here, as well as activist here in the studio. Before we went on the break, you were talking about how it is that so much was not done for him.
Yeah.
And they were, you know, bodies like Nupeng and all of that, he championed their cause. At the time, we didn't see much showing from them. What could have happened?
The first thing is to first look at how we got to that point.
To this point, yeah.
The greatest damage that has happened to this country was the incursion of military into our life. I'll get to that.
Giving the excuses of the military.
No.
Rid ourselves of all of those issues.
It's important because they shattered the institution, they shattered our value. Why it is a lesson is for the political class not to misbehave to such an extent that it become very inviting to Nigerians that maybe we should go for democracy. That's the lesson I'm saying, that look at where it got us. So nobody should ever think in the direction of a military again, because this is part of what they did to us. So that's part of the lesson. You see, the way we structure our society, we can't live a different life out of it. That's the way we structure our society. It is a society where issues like this are not taken as a priority. And as long as we do that, it is going to likely to happen to virtually all our great people. So, and that's why organizations and personalities like him should do something consciously about it. We have a youth bureau now, where we educate the youth to the implication of the way they are living their life. That you can't have a great society, you can't have a great future with this attitude and character. There is no guarantee that when it is your time, you will achieve
from those who were ahead of them.
And No, we're ahead of them. How? I don't get you.
Now they are seeing that...
he said there's no excuse, and I agree with him.
The society is not celebrating heroes like this.
He said the young people don't have... He said the young people don't have excuse at their own time. The consciousness at his own time is not as much as now. They were this consciousness. It's just a question of choice that the young people are doing what they are doing. We have made a lot of excuses for the young people. And even at our own time, like we're younger than them, we had nobody to tell us about what we should do at our own time. Even people who were not part of the struggle sympathize with us. So, and if you look at the list of people that fit into the category of what he has said, it's pathetic.
It is.
I had colleagues, I had friends. There's one friend of mine, Revo, he died in a rented house recently about 3 years ago. But the man sold his father's house that he inherited when his father died in June 12. We used the money to print leaflet too. We spent all the father's house money to print leaflet of Abacha must go. But nobody came to say. There were countless people like that. I have friends who had memory issues now. I can begin to mention names. And I said, it's a societal thing. It's not as if Kokori was isolated. That's how you treat all your heroes.
Unfortunately.
And the betrayer in our struggle, if the military, the police and paramilitary in this country devote the skill they have to making this country great, in fact, all of us will be clapping for them when it comes to security of our nation. Because they are thorough. There are things they get to know about you, and you wonder that it's only my mother that knows this about me now. How do you get to know that? And that's why, if they devote the skill they have for productive use, you'll be amazed. At those moments, where they go and fish us out at those moments, you see, it's amazing that how did you know this place? And that is why many of our colleagues, it was experienced later that exonerated them. Because how did the SSS know certain thing about me? How did you know I'm here? Maybe 2 or 3 people only knew. So you keep pointing accusing finger to them until they kept asking our colleague those questions that guy that knows about it didn't know about it.
How do we change this culture?
That's what I'm saying. That is, we have to build it consciously. We have to mentor the young ones. If you don't mentor them, we have discovered that they are choosing to behave like children and handle their future. And no young woman should behave the way majority of Nigerians should behave. No young man should behave like that. Maybe it was consciously done in that way to take the attention away from getting serious about that. Maybe it was consciously done. And that's the reason why you must pay attention to it. We had friends that time. They were supposed to pick some document at a particular place. I was part of the 8 people. The first people who went inside, they didn't come back. I didn't set them up to today. The second people who went back, they didn't come back. It was my turn with my friend to go in, Dr. Atiladi. And I said, Dr. Me, I'm not going in. 4 people didn't come back. And today, Dr. owe me that appreciation that Razak, I will have been there. We didn't know where they went to up to today. And those were just, it's not only that, there were many of our guys that they never go back to school after rustication. And they are there today. So there's a long list of people who died like so good. In fact, there are many people who are unsung. Those periods, you are giving role. Some people play prominent role that time.
Perhaps there's an opportunity for this current administration to change.
And that's where I'm coming to, that the golden opportunity we had is true. The fact that someone who did the same thing like you did became the president, that's a consolation. In fact, if I didn't get anything from the president, that's enough consolation for me that, okay, so in my own lifetime, an activist like me of his own level can become the president of Nigeria. That's a big consolation. And that's why it should inspire the president to reverse the trend that he must build a society. It happened to him too. Nobody knows. All the 90% of the young men who voted for him didn't vote for him because of what he had done in his part. Maybe political persuasion. And we can't continue our society like that. And Papa Enaro told me that the guy he contested a parliamentary election with in Lagos was using limousine. And he campaigned with bicycle and he won. We want to go back to that kind of society. Nobody could have won election in this era with this kind of a profile. Someone who rides a bicycle to win election against someone who is riding in the mood. In fact, it's a crime. From the definition of it, it's a political crime. That, in fact, it is considered as an insult that you are riding bicycle and you want to contest a parliamentary election. So we need our society, we need to review our society in such a way that the young will begin to play their role. the elders, the government, have the larger
They
blame.
all have
But the
major
young
role to
people also has a shared blame in it because it's shared responsibility.
How much influence
He has a platform to mentor young people. Yes.
Yes, they are the ones that are
They didn't listen to him.
The young ones the way.
People like him had platform for mentorship. They didn't listen to them. So, and the message we should be sending to them that you are not going anywhere. You will lead, but you will not lead well. And as for followers, you will follow your leader, but you are not going to be a good follower. Followers see things better than the leaders. And it's the follower that create direction and supervise the leader at times. The followers at their own time will not be able to supervise their leader with this attitude.
Right. How should the government perhaps immortalize someone like Frank Kokori?
That's a good question. I have to background that by saying that we have not known how to immortalize our heroes. Recently, the governor of Anambra State, Soludo, did a good thing, named the airport for Chinua Achebe. And I wrote that time that, can you imagine, one of our greatest symbols, some of our greatest writers, there's no symbol, no monument for him. And it just took him time to do that. And we waited years after he died, which we were supposed to have done it even before he died. And I said, look at Soyinka. Wole Soyinka is alive now. Where is the monument for him? Nothing.
Nothing.
Eh? We can't even name a university for him. We can't even build anything for him on a national level. What Soludo did for Achebe is for Anambra State. But Achebe is not an Anambra hero alone. It's a national hero. In fact, it's an African hero, and so on. Or
the continental hero.
Continental hero, even a world-famous hero.
Right.
They did not do anything for him. And that is what we do. But we have monuments for corrupt technocrats. We have monument for thieves. We have monument for Abacha. We have monument for all those people who destroy. We do the glibly and we still maintain them around the country. But the people who do the best for us, we don't do. Lagos has done a good deal. We have a major road for Alfred Rewane. We have for Ganifa and so on. Braithwaite and things like that. But that is Lagos. But we don't have national. We don't have it. We have a few for Nnamdi Azikiwe and all of that. The Senegalese French writer David Diop, in his book Beyond the Door of No Return, a new novel out, said our monuments are in our stories and our tales and so on. This is true. Kokori is in our stories. But the problem is that we don't even know whether it's in our stories, because before he died, people didn't even show that they even know about it. So which stories? So maybe we need big monuments as snapshots in time that will make people say, okay, so who is this man that I'm seeing here on this traffic who is this man that they named this major road after? Who is he? That will create some kind of imprimatur on the minds of people. Because if the stories cannot be told, let the monument be built. So something like that. Let us do something for our heroes. That's very important.
It's critical. And I would have wanted to touch on the matter of the role he played and how it is that we're not seeing as much persons who have that kind of power, wield that kind of power to bring government to book in terms of his leadership of Pengasen and all of it at the time. We're not seeing that. People have been talking about how NLC is no longer as powerful as it used to be. I'm wondering what changed. If you could just quickly touch on that before we move on to something else.
Well, we have a recurrent challenge with the NLC. When Backfire we left and Adam Oshiomhole came on board, we warned them that the driving seat of governance is a shared responsibility. It's not only about the government. The NLC has a role to play. But when the military was around, there were agreement among all of us that the military must go. So NLC didn't see area of their own responsibility as priority that time. Now, NLC should not be about increasing of salary. It should be involved about the essential things of life.
Was that what?
What is the landing cost of the shirt you are wearing? Your wristwatch, the food you eat.
Was that how Kokori was?
NLC, no, for them for NLC to be relevant now, it was different that time. For them to be relevant now, that the way your workers spend their life is your responsibility to engage the manufacturer association that when there are a bag of rice is produced at 10,000, why are you selling for 50,000? So that's where the battle begins before it gets to the government. And in addition to what my senior colleague have said about how to monument, there's a model that we have to copy. Compulsorily, in an African country, out of our 1,000 role models, a student must learn about 10. So, at the end of their career as a student, at least you pick one or two things that this is the way I want to live my life. If you don't do that, you leave them with the initiative of a senator adding himself on the tree who wants to become a governor recently, to become their role model. And other strange characters who want to become their... And it's a serious thing. Yeah. If you don't lead them to a party where they see Kokori as someone you must wait to live your life with, they will find their own role model and think someone who is doing Yahoo should be our role model. Someone who was a military head of state was so it's important that we do that.
Yes, it's a good point he has made about role modeling. Yeah. Role models now are people who have 2 million viewers overnight for shaking their body, for twerking, or for displaying that they have designer eyeglasses or wristwatch. Those are the kind of role models which is very sad. Okay. I want to just conclude by saying that that I think that everybody should not all is lost, and if all was lost, we won't have the Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevori show in public.
I learned that Lagos also did something for him.
To him, yes.
Lagos the government. I learned they also did something for Kokori before. Yes. Why not?
So sit beside him and talk about it, and I expect that he too will do something for the family and so on. I want to end with this poem by Claude McKay. It says, "If we must die, let us not die like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious sport. While round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mock at our accused lot. If we must die, let us nobly die."
All right. Before we go, gentlemen, I want us to quickly touch on something, an interesting development in Rivers State yesterday, where we saw 27 lawmakers of the state, cross-carpeted to the APC from the PDP, and there are those who have been talking about this matter has Wike written all over it, so to speak. But the question is, Wike is a PDP member. In fact, an elder statesman, Edwin Clark, has said that the president should call Wike to order as it is because of what we are seeing. If the PDP has also gone ahead to say, you know what, declare their seats vacant, and INEC should come and carry out an election in the state. Sam?
When I was in Ife, we were looking at the politics of medieval Europe. When the Pope was fighting against temporal authorities, and the Pope became extremely worldly and dined and wined with secular authorities and bargained openly for the expansion of the papal territory. What happened at that time is that there was no longer a boundary between temporal and spiritual authority. Today, there's no boundary. Not people are talking about APC or PDP. It is all the platform for power. That's what is happening in this country because there's no ideological divide between APC and PDP. And people are saying that is it Wike's hands are red over it. We saw him dancing recently, dancing and saying on the mandate we shall stand Jagaban. I didn't know that was a new dance from him. I'd never seen him dance that way before. But what we are seeing here with the defection is just a matter of time that we're going to do it. Really? Yeah, there's already a division between them. They blew up a House of Assembly. The governor of Ubara went to stand on, went to do an Aluta moment by standing on a podium and addressing his supporters as though it was in a rally or in a student rally or in a student rally. So you know that the battle line is drawn. What is going on? I mean, they wanted to impeach him that time. It's just a matter of time. What we are going to see is this. Let me just tell you. My own sense of it is they are going to create a situation where they will dare the governor to a point where they say it's time for impeachment. They will say, well, they have been unconstitutional. You cannot recognize 5 people when the majority is 27. 2, they will say that he has not been giving them allocation. They've started making the point. They mentioned it yesterday. And that, in fact, they are accusing him of financial impunity and so on. So they will line up his sins, and then they will impeach him. Once you have removed him, they will put the deputy who is supposed to be loyal to Wike, they will put him there. Then the battle line will be drawn now between the angry ones and those who are happy on the throne. So what will happen is that Atiku, PDP, and all those, the APC, they've dissolved the APC in the state, the executive. So all of them cannot rally together to PDP, and then they become people who want to fight the APC. Now, there may be some people who have committed crimes, fraud when they were in office and so on. If they are the one funding them, EFCC may be alerted. That this man stole 2 billion and used it to buy puff. The other day, I want to see how many puff we bought and who were those people who had running stomach from eating that puff.
But there's also the constitution.
So by that, they will have weakened the opposition and the structure. Wike was talking about being loyal to the structure. So they want to purify that structure and keep them, so they'll be us versus them. That's what.
But there's also the constitutionality of their move, which has also been brought to the fore, and that's what the PDP is also talking about, invoking Section 109 of the 1999 Constitution with regards to this matter.
I think at times the political class should cover their face in shame. There were precedents that people move from one party to the other. What has happened to them today? That is now today they remember that section of the Constitution. There are people who have moved from APC to PDP before. They are alive today. In fact, they are already their position. So there's a precedence already, and that's people who move from PDP to APC, nothing will happen to them under the law. That's one. 2 is that a particular element requires a particular medication. Wike is a very nice medication for Rivers State.
How so?
Looking at what Amechi has done to APC in Rivers and the national politics.
Where is the people in all of this? Are we thinking about the people at all?
We'll come to the people now.
We have limited time.
So it's a very good medication for Rivers State. And that is why I'm coming to the people and the political class now. At any moment, we should always be thinking about the people. Amechi and many political class, when it comes to their aspiration, they forget the people. Someone has won a primary. You are trying to decimate the party. If I were APC too, I would look for a Wike in any state that behaves like Amechi too. Any state that has Amechi, I must look for the Wike in that state too. So, because Amechi has done what he has done, the most brilliant thing APC could have done is to get Wike. So, it is time for Wike to Amechi to feel the brunt now. How does he feel? When we have agreed as a political party that someone has won an election and all you had in your mind is to decimate him. The party doesn't have any hand in it.
All right.
So in conclusion, what I'm saying is that political class should learn how to push the people first. If Amechi had put the people first, all these things will not happen to him. Wike will not be relevant in all of this.
But that doesn't mean we should continue in this matter without putting the people's
That is your political class for you. That is your political class for you.
Yes, we need to wrap up the conversation.
That's your political class for you.
Hold on. What will happen is that the people are important, but the people need people to look up to.
Okay.
So what is going to happen is that with people like Amici might not. Amici will go to PDP.
Our time is
up.
Our time is up.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you for having a wonderful conversation on set today.